Well, I'm Jim, and I guess as the oldest, I should say something first. You know, I always said, everything I know I learned at my mother's knee, or some other joint. And I was so lucky because any of you that knew my mother knew what a wonderful teacher she was. And to be a good teacher, you have to be a good learner. And my mom taught us to learn continually throughout our lives. And I don't think you can ask for any better mother than that. And to have had her for 94 years, for not only her children, but her grandchildren and great-grandchildren, I think we all feel very, very blessed. And we're glad that you could come here today and share this moment almost of joy of 94 years of wonderful life. Now, one of the things that my mom used to get upset about is how much time I spent in Mexico. And some of the things I did in Mexico. But one time when I was traveling in Mexico, I came across a verse that I was told that it was a Spanish translation of a prayer of the Huichol Indians that live in the highlands of Zacatecas. And I thought it was a beautiful verse, and I'd like to share it. I'll give you my English translation. If you want the Spanish, I can give it to you later. But it says, "A day comes when we travel on, leaving our mortal remains in the night. We came here only to know ourselves and to know others, only being on loan to the earth." It's a verse that meant a lot to me, and I think my mother would have enjoyed it. So, thank you.
I'll get it out in a minute. My name is Reese. I'm 5 months older than Jim. And I was raised in another household, but my dad and Jim's dad were brothers. And Erva was my aunt, right? Well, when I think about Aunt Erva, I think about so many things. She was such a kind and considerate person. She was so tolerant. She was so smart. She was sexy. I'm saying that seriously. You can talk to Uncle Jack about that. I'm not going to tell you anymore. But we had, Jack and I, Uncle Jack, we had some good talks. And I can tell you without question that two people who were deeply in love and committed to each other are together again. And that gives us all hope. But I feel so fortunate to have been brought into the Jack and Erva Verner family as a nephew. We could go on and talk about a lot of stuff. But so many good memories. And so good to see Jim Wilson here. I know Jim could stand up and tell you many, many positive characteristics about Aunt Erva. He was blessed to have lived with them for an important part of his life. when he was a teenager. But when I think of Aunt Erva, I think of somebody that was so balanced. She was a loving and committed mother, husband, grandmother, aunt. Couldn't ask for a better aunt, I'm telling you. She was open-minded. She expressed herself so well. You always felt welcome and at home with Aunt Erva. She had so many good things to say. And I think of Aunt Erva, I think of somebody that was current, right? 94, but she was current. I was talking to my 14-year-old grandson yesterday about Aunt Erva. Caleb, I said, Caleb, do you have any memory of Aunt Erva being with her? And he said no, but we were friends on Facebook. Chris, our youngest son, was a friend of Aunt Erva's on Facebook. What's Facebook? But that was Aunt Erva. She was just current, up to date. And I know we can all say that our lives are better because of our contact with Aunt Erva. She was just that kind of a person. And I'm just so privileged to be here and to be able to say a few words about her. I just want to say thanks to Aunt Erva. Right? She was cool. And I love you.
We would come up here to get to visit. And so, you know, I got to learn these really exciting American things like canning and quilting and sewing. And so those always kind of stayed in the periphery of my life. And though she did not teach me any of those, I learned them. But I think my favorite, and I have some very intense, strong memories of her, some that I think are just even too private to share with anyone. But I remember 2 years ago, I was visiting her, and I made a comment about how I'd been at Camp Geronimo when I was in high school, and she said, "Oh, weren't you a Girl Scout?" And I actually said, "Well, no, Grandma, I was a Boy Scout for a day." And she said, "Blair, you always did things your own way." And then a visit shortly after that one, she told me about her college experience. And she and I developed an intellectual relationship that is very precious. And we spent the afternoon talking about Immanuel Kant and Hegel and Nietzsche and what they brought to our lives. And I think that conversation with her blew me away because I never expected I would have been able to have had that with her. And she always managed to do that. And I have 2 cans of canned cherries waiting in my basement to celebrate her life with.
And I fell in there with a group of kids from the First Nazarene Church over at 5th Avenue in Monroe, I think it was. And they started dragging me to church. And they were a good bunch of kids. We used to do a lot of things, and those were good memories that still remain in my mind. And when my granddaughter married Erva's grandson, Joshua, and then I met Erva and found out her name was Verner, I mentioned to her, I said, "Oh, I used to run around with a bunch of kids from the Nazarene Church," because I knew by then that she had been a Nazarene. And so I said, and I lived at 328 North 16th Avenue, and there was a grocery store right there on the corner called Wilson's Capitola Grocery. And I said there was a man that worked there, and his name was Reese Verner. And she said, oh, she says, and then she explained to me how she was related to Reese. And so then I told her, I said, well, this is really strange that after all these years I meet someone else. And I said, by the way, I used to, when I had my first child, I used to walk over to my grandma's and I passed a furniture store called Verner's Furniture Store. I said, is that another one of your relations? Oh, yes, you know. So anyway, now I know I know some of her children, and she and I share a bunch of grandkids. And we talked on the phone quite often about our grandchildren. It says in here that she has 16 great-grandchildren. I have 14. And 3 of those are Josh and Jesse's kids. So anyway, Vernon and I would talk on the phone, and every season right around Thanksgiving time, Jesse would come and take a picture of me with all of my great-grandchildren, and I always made sure that Verna got one of those because she got so much joy out of it. And we would exchange cards on birthdays and at Christmas time and so forth and so on. And as I sit here today and listen to these things, I just think that, isn't it strange that from 1942, when I was a freshman in high school, down to today, when this lady has left us,
I'm Kirsten, Erva's great-granddaughter. I was really close to my great-grandma. I did her laundry every week for about 2 years. Death is a sad, terrible thing, and we all know that. We go through it at one time or another. But in my great-grandma's case, it was near the best way to go. She passed from old age and right after 3 celebrations: Easter, her 94th birthday, and Mother's Day. She was very happy when I was with her on her last night. She got to see her sons, her grandchildren, and her great-grandchildren. I wrote her a note on that Monday night saying that my cousins and the rest of the whole family were very, very grateful to see her, and ever so close and so near to us. I also said that we were very lucky to know her. It was really fun doing laundry with my great-grandma. She had fun sharing stories with me, and I enjoyed listening to the fascinating tales of when she was young. My favorite story is about her bringing her class fudge. I've also learned what some proper grammar was in those days. I got life lessons too. She taught me that no matter what happens, you'll always have someone to back you up. And for that, I thank her greatly. And with death comes memories we can share. Mine are valuable and precious to me. I helped her move from her old apartment to the care house that was right across from my street, to the legacy to her new room, and I got to be with her on her very last night. I am proud to have a great-grandma, even if she is now gone, and I want to thank her for everything she has done. I know she is listening to me and thinking of how nice this is. I love my grandma, and I will always cherish her in my thoughts and memories.
It's great to fall, and tongue or pen can never tell. It goes beyond the highest star and reaches to the lowest bell. The guilty pair bowed down with care. God gave His Son to win. His erring child He reconciled and pardoned from his sin. O love of God, how rich and pure, how measureless and strong, it shall forevermore endure. The saints and angels song.
On Good Friday, April 2nd, 1999, she said this: "A message to my children, James, Jacqueline, Rundio, and David and Donna. Recently, I attended a funeral and found myself thinking, well, I hope they don't do that at mine. But if I don't tell you, you won't know. So here it goes. And she went on to write this beautiful letter. And these songs and the solo and were all spelled out right there for us. It was a lovely, lovely thing. The death of someone like Grandma's, it's odd. There's times that I feel just sad and overwhelmed, and tears well up. And then I'm standing out in the foyer, and it's loud, and people are hugging and smiling, and it feels like you're at a wedding instead of a funeral or memorial service. And the range of emotion, it comes and it goes quickly. And it's important for us to know that that's okay. We're sad that she's gone. We're excited that she's walking with the Lord, that she's reunited with Jack. We'll laugh and we'll cry. We'll enjoy our fine family and friends, and it's all good. We rejoice, we remember. One of the first things to remember is that we have permission for all of these feelings. To grieve, to have joy. It's okay. Another important detail to remember is that God feels these things along with us. And God is weeping with us, laughing with us, drawing us forward, drawing us on to healing and to hope and to resurrection. And that idea of resurrection is important. It expands hope beyond what we might expect. So while it's true that somehow Grandma is with God in heaven, it's also true that there is more to come, more than simply life after death. We Christians believe in an actual bodily resurrection. We believe that Jesus was raised from the dead, not that his spirit simply floated off to heaven someplace, but that his body got life back into it, and that the resurrected Christ walked on earth with his feet, and he spoke with friends with his mouth, and he broke bread with his hands, and he ate it in a new, strange, wonderful, but very real physical body. And so we also look forward to the day when death is finally and utterly destroyed, and the dead are raised, and the life after death begins. The life after death begins. In 1 Corinthians, we read these great words. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed. Then the saying that is written will come true. Death has been swallowed up in victory. Where, O death, is your victory? Where, O death, is your sting? So there's great hope. Hope that Erva, Grandma, is in the glorious presence of God at this very moment, that she's enjoying a reunion with Jack, with Grandpa, with Uncle Jack. And that someday in the future, she will get a new body, a resurrected body, a perfect body, in which she will embrace us once more with her arms and talk to us with her mouth, and we will listen to her with our ears, and nobody will have to shout, because resurrected bodies don't need hearing aids. Some of my favorite words in Scripture. God will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning or crying or pain anymore, for the former things have passed away. Let's end these very short remarks. You see, she didn't ask for a sermon. by reading the 23rd Psalm together. You have it printed out. It might actually show up here. This is, again, precisely how she wanted it, from her favorite version. So, join me in saying it together. The Lord is my shepherd,
I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Maybe weep and hug, all that kind of stuff. Let me end with more words that Grandma herself wrote. She said, "Let it be a joyful time." Early in my life, I was taught the Christian way of life, and I have tried to be obedient to Christ's ideals. I have had the security of knowing that I am loved by one who understands and forgives me when I have fallen short. I have been so blessed by having a wonderful family and many good friends who have enabled me to have many interesting and inspirational experiences. When my time comes to leave this life, I will go with rejoicing to the place he has promised. Erva J. Verner. Well now, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you